What's going on, everybody? I hope you're having a fantastic day out there today. For today's topic, I want to talk about something that I've been seeing a lot of discussion on lately, and that's whether or not collectors are ruining the car hobby for the average car enthusiast. Now, I've been seeing a lot on forums and Facebook groups, talking to people out at events, even YouTubers talking about how collectors are ruining the hobby because they are driving the prices through the roof on these cars, and it's taking them out of the reach of the average enthusiast who feels that they should be able to enjoy these cars as much as the person with the deep pockets. Now, this is something I've thought about a lot over the years, and I know a number of collectors that have a wide variety of really high dollar cars, and so I've talked to them about this as well. And for me, I don't see collectors being a problem for the hobby. I'm sure your super rare high dollar cars like your factory Hemi cars or your Boss 429 cars or your 427 cars, I'm sure a lot of those cars are crazy expensive. But that doesn't mean you can't take a base model version like a 318 car or a six-cylinder car or whatever and convert it into looking like one of those. Sure, it doesn't have the provenance and the paperwork to go with it saying that this came this way from the factory, but if you're a true enthusiast and you just want to enjoy the car, what's stopping you from enjoying the car? You can go ahead and because I'm a Mopar guy and really fluent in Mopars, let's say you wanted a 71 Hemi Cuda. Okay, a real one's going to set you back probably somewhere between 500,000 and a million, depending on its condition and options and stuff. And we're just talking coupes here, we're not talking convertibles. So a real one's going to set you back north of $500,000. That's a lot of money. That's collector territory. It's investment grade car territory. But you can take a base model 71, or you can take a 72 to 74, like I'm doing with my 74, and converting it to look like a 71. And for a fraction of the price, you can go ahead and build your own 71 Hemi Cuda. And sure, it's not going to have that R code on the VIN tag, and it's not going to have the documentation stuff with it. But if you're a true car enthusiast who just wants to feel what that type of car is like, what difference does it make what the fifth digit of that VIN number is? It really doesn't. Now, of course, a Hemi engine is going to set you back a ton of money. I mean, at least $15,000, if not more. And if you go for Hemis only and call Tim, it's going to cost you over $30,000 for an all aluminum 426 based Hemi. So Hemis just aren't cheap to begin with. They're a low volume engine. Parts are really rare and expensive to come by. So it's just the way it goes. But you can still build yourself a 71 Hemi Cuda for less than $100,000. Yes, that's a lot of money, but they didn't make a lot of these cars to begin with. And just because you like this car doesn't mean everybody else doesn't like this car. And there are plenty of options out there if you want to be a car enthusiast and enjoy cars that aren't highly sought after. There's a lot of cars out there that you can get into at relatively low costs. But these cars that a lot of people like, not just collectors, they drive the prices up. And another benefit to having collectors involved in this market, it gives manufacturers out there reason to produce parts for these cars. In the last 10, 15 years in the Mopar community, I have seen so many improvements and number of parts available from the aftermarket. It's just been absolutely amazing, and it's been great for the hobby. If it weren't for collectors and people interested in these cars, they'd just end up scrapped and long and gone and forgotten. So there's a lot of benefits to having collectors being involved in this hobby. And with the reproduction parts being available, you don't need to be buying beat up used parts and having them restored or buying new old stock parts at ridiculous prices. And overall, it's never been a better time to build an e-body Mopar. Of course, they're going to be expensive. They didn't make a ton of them like they did with your GM products and your Ford products. And they didn't make millions of Cudas or millions of Challengers like they did with Mustangs and Camaros. And it's just the reality of it. Chrysler's always been the smallest of the big three, and their production numbers have always shown for that. That just means that since people are really showing interest in them, they cost more. And it's not just collectors that are buying them up and spending the big money on them. I mean, you've got regular people, everyday people that are doing it. Perfect example of like my Challenger here. I've had that car 23 years, and yeah, parts are expensive for it. And it took me all this time to finally decide to spend the money on getting a brand new dash pad for it and restore the interior. It's just part of the nature of the hobby is it costs money to do so. If you want to enjoy the hobby and you don't want to spend a ton of money, well, you can look at A-body Mopars. They're still relatively inexpensive for the most part, unless you're looking at rare ones like factory big block cars or factory Hemi cars. But then again, we're back into the collector situation, and you can build a clone of one for a fraction of the cost of what a factory documented car would cost. It's totally up to you. But if you're the type of person who needs to have the numbers matching stuff and all the paperwork, you're gonna have to pay. That's just the reality of the situation. It's not because of collectors. It's because of supply and demand, and that's just what the market is demanding. And it's unfortunate that the everyday Joe can't afford a Hemi car, but at the same time, the everyday Joe, how many of you out there that are complaining about collectors driving these prices up, if you had the opportunity and owned one of these cars and someone offered you $1 million for it, would you turn them down and say, no, I want the regular everyday Joe to enjoy this car. I'm only gonna sell it to a regular guy for like $30,000. No, you're a capitalist. You're enjoying these cars. You wanna have that big payday too. So at the end of the day, unless you're willing to say, yeah, you know what? I'm not willing to sell this car to a collector for big money. I'm only going to sell it to a regular guy for a fraction of money. You really don't have any legs to stand on when it comes to complaining that collectors are ruining the hobby, because you would be taking advantage of the situation if the roles were reversed and you had this high dollar, insanely rare vehicle. It's just the way it is. And it's hilarious. I had the other about a month ago or so, when I got the dash pad, I had posted a picture of it online on some of the Facebook groups, and yes, you could see my Viper in the background, and someone commented, well, of course he can afford a $1,000 dash pad, he's got a Dodge Viper. Well, not exactly. First of all, the dash pad I think was like $750 or whatever. Still, it wasn't cheap. But like I said earlier in this video, it's been over 20 years I've been waiting to put a dash pad in this car. I pick and choose which parts I want to go ahead and spend my money on, because I don't have unlimited resources to be building all of these cars. It takes time, it takes money, and so I have to decide which areas I want to go ahead and pick and choose from. And it's just the nature of the hobby. It's nothing to get mad at other people about because they have more resources than I do and can afford to do all this stuff at a faster rate and get the higher end cars than I can. It's just how things are, and it's true with all forms of hobbies and interests. It's not just limited to the collector car market. This goes through any type of industry that you see across the world. It's just supply and demand. It's how it is. But for me, I'm grateful for collectors because they're preserving the history of these cars. They are helping drive manufacturers to produce higher quality parts. And it's just all around, it's just really good for the hobby to have these people involved. And like I said, I'm really grateful for them and being able to see these cars, because I wasn't alive when these cars were new. And if it weren't for people that were interested in these cars and collectors who were preserving these cars, or just regular everyday car enthusiasts preserving these cars, they'd be lost and destroyed as time went on, because they would just be cast away as some used appliance. And so for me, I'm grateful for the collectors. I'm grateful for everybody in this community. It's been a great time that I've spent all my life involved in the classic car hobby. And I look forward to how things go forward in the future, and just overall just see how things are progressing. So if you like today's video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, hit that like button. It helps me out tremendously with that YouTube algorithm. What are your thoughts on whether or not collectors are ruining the hobby or not? Go ahead and put those comments in this comment section below, because I read all of your comments. I'm interested in what you guys think on this subject, because it is a very controversial topic. I see a lot of people on both sides of the coin on how they feel about it. And so I'm curious to know what my fans out there, what you guys think, and how this hobby is working out for you. And if you want to be kept up to date with all of my videos in the future, as always, don't forget to smash that subscribe button down below and ring that notification bell as well, so that way YouTube will keep you up to date with all the videos I do in the future. And of course, I've also included in the description below links to all the vlogging equipment and all the detailing products that I use. So that way, if you're interested in any of those, just click on that, and clicking on those links also helps me out and the channel out. And so I definitely am thankful for all those clicks that you guys are doing on those. And as always, guys, I will see you the next video.